Have you ever left a conversation replaying it 100 times in your head, thinking about what you should have said, what they should not have said, and how unfair it all felt, until your whole day was ruined even though nothing actually changed on the outside? Have you ever lain awake at night because of one sentence somebody casually threw at you, feeling your chest burn with anger or shame? Then asked yourself why a few words could have that much power over your mood and even your life. Welcome back to the channel, my friend. Today we are going to talk about something that quietly controls the destiny of countless people without them even noticing. It is not money, not luck, not even raw talent. It is words. More precisely, the way you relate to right and wrong in words, to praise and blame, to gossip, to other people's opinions, and to the voice of your own mouth. This episode is inspired by the teachings of Master Xing Yun, a modern Buddhist teacher who spent his life reminding people that if you let your mouths lead the way, your fate will often be dragged into places you never wanted to go. He pointed out a simple but brutal truth. The more obsessed you are with arguing about who is right and who is wrong, about who said what and how they said it, the more likely it is that your heart will become crowded, your life will become small, and your path will become full of unnecessary suffering. The core ideas we will explore together are these. First, caring about truth and justice is not the same as obsessing over being right. One brings clarity, the other brings endless drama. Second, the human mouth is a double-edged sword. The same tongue that can comfort and bless can also destroy relationships and twist your destiny. Third, letting go of the need to win every argument is not weakness. It is a form of wisdom and compassion that frees you from the prison of other people's judgments and the prison of your own pride. So let us walk together through some stories, some self-reflections, and some practical shifts in attitude that can help you stop letting words drag you around and start using them as tools for kindness and clarity. Imagine a man named Eric. Eric is, by most standards, a decent person. He works hard, takes care of his family, and tries to be honest. But there is one area of his life that constantly burns him from the inside: his obsession with being right in every conversation. At the office, if a colleague misquotes a number, he must correct them immediately, not because the number truly matters in that moment, but because he cannot stand the feeling that wrong information is floating in the air. At family dinners, if someone shares a story and misremembers a detail, he interrupts to set the record straight. During online discussions, he spends long evenings fighting strangers in comment sections, determined to prove that his viewpoint is the correct one. On paper, you could say he cares about truth, but watch what happens inside him. When his opinion is challenged, he feels as if his very existence is under attack. His heart races, his face warms, his mind starts producing arguments with a speed that exhausts even him. When the other person refuses to back down, he cannot let it go. He will lie in bed reconstructing the conversation, inventing clever comebacks he wishes he had used, feeling waves of anger at the thought that somewhere out there, someone is still wrongly thinking they were right and he was wrong. His wife once joked, if there was a competition for the person who must have the last word, you would win. He laughed out loud, but inside, it stung, because he recognized the truth. One day, in a moment of rare vulnerability, he said to a friend, I do not know what is wrong with me. I know that a lot of these arguments do not matter. I know that even if I win, nothing really changes, but I feel like if I do not prove I am right, I disappear. There it is, the secret core of many people's obsession with right and wrong. It is not actually about the topic at hand. It is about identity. If my viewpoint is wrong, who am I? If someone criticizes my words, they must be saying that I am stupid, useless, worthless, so I must defend my words at all costs. Master Xing Yun would look at Eric and say gently, "You are letting your mouth drag your whole life." What does that mean? It means that instead of using words as tools to understand and connect, Eric has given them the power to define his entire value. When the mouth becomes the captain, the ship of destiny lurches towards storms of conflict. Let us shift the scene. Imagine a woman named Melissa who lives in a small town. In her community, gossip is a kind of social currency. People trade stories about each other like children rating cards. Who is dating whom? Whose business is failing? Whose child is misbehaving? Whose marriage looks shaky? At first, Melissa only listens. She tells herself she does not like gossip. But as the weeks go by, she finds herself getting pulled in. It feels good to be included, to be in the know. It feels thrilling, in a dark way, to discuss other people's flaws and mistakes, especially when her own life feels dull. One afternoon, at a cafe, she hears a group of women whispering and glancing in her direction. Her stomach tightens. She overhears a few words and realizes with a shock that she is now the subject of the story. Someone has seen her talking to a male colleague after work and is now speculating that she is having an affair. It is not true. The colleague had simply been asking for advice about a personal problem. But in that moment, truth does not matter. What matters is that words have taken on a life of their own. A small fragment of reality, mixed with assumptions and spice, has become a narrative. She goes home burning with rage and humiliation. How dare they? How can people be so evil? She spends hours rehearsing what she will say next time she sees them. How she will shame them back. How she will expose their own secrets. But as the days pass, the gossip grows. Fact and rumor mix so tightly that nobody can tell them apart. Some people look at her with curiosity, some with judgment, some with pity. Money has not changed hands. No physical harm has occurred, yet her social world feels shattered. Again, this is what it means when a life is pulled by words. Master Xing Yun often warned that words are invisible knives. They cut reputations. They cut trust. They cut the invisible threads of goodwill that hold communities together. And they cut not only those who are spoken about, but also those who speak. Because every time you use your mouth to harm others, even with a thin cover of entertainment or justice, you are carving grooves into your own character. The more you enjoy tearing others down, the more your own heart becomes used to the sour taste of bitterness. That becomes your karma, your habit, your destiny. Let us go even deeper. There is another, quieter way that obsession with right and wrong can ruin your peace. It is not about arguing with others. It is about arguing with yourself. Imagine a person who keeps replaying past decisions. I should not have said that to my parents. I should have chosen a different major. I should have left that job earlier. I should not have trusted that person. Each thought comes with an invisible court. The mind becomes a courtroom where the same case is tried every night. The judge, the prosecutor, the defendant, and the jury are all the same person. Did I do right or wrong? Was I victim or villain? Am I good or bad? From the outside, nothing is happening. They might be sitting on a couch, drinking tea, but inside, the trial never ends. If you live like this, you are also letting your mouth control your fate, even if the mouth is silent on the outside. The words are still being spoken internally. and they are just as sharp. Master Xing Yun once said that people suffer more not because of what happens, but because of the stories they keep telling around what happens. The story of right and wrong, winner and loser, offender and victim, becomes a cage. So what is the alternative? Are we supposed to stop caring about justice? Let people walk all over us? Never speak up? Never correct mistakes? Of course not. True spiritual wisdom does not ask you to be a doormat. It asks you two carefully separate things that most of us confuse. One is the calm, clear recognition of what is wholesome and unwholesome, helpful and harmful, skillful and unskillful. This is sometimes called wisdom or discernment. The other is the ego's attachment to being right, to winning arguments, to polishing its own image by stepping on others. This is called pride or self-grasping. The first brings liberation. The second brings endless trouble. Imagine this difference through a simple scene. Two colleagues, Anna and Ben, are discussing a project plan. Anna notices a serious flaw in Ben's proposal that could cost the company money. If she acts from wisdom, she might say calmly, "I see a possible risk here. Let us look at the numbers again together." Her focus is on the issue, not on her own image. If Ben resists, she stays with the facts. She may speak firmly, but she does not attack his character. Her goal is to prevent harm, not to win ego points. If she acts from ego, she might say sharply, "Your plan makes no sense. Did you even read the data?" Her tone slices. Even if she is technically correct, her words turn the meeting into a battlefield. Ben's pride rises. He defends himself. Other colleagues feel tense and pick sides. The main question is lost under waves of hurt feelings. Same content, different spirit. Master Xing Yun liked to remind people that when you speak, you are not only sending sound through air, you are drawing lines in your own heart. Every harsh word sets a scratch. Every needless argument leaves a trace. Every time you swallow pride to speak kindly, you polish your own character. So how do we begin to live in a way where our mouth no longer drags our fate, but instead supports our path? The first step is painfully simple. Become aware of how much you are controlled by words. Think of the last week. How many times did you feel your mood change because of something someone said or wrote? How many hours did you spend replaying conversations, rehearsing imaginary replies, or stalking other people's comments to see what they thought about you? Imagine if you could get those hours back. What would you do with that time? Study, rest, be with people you love, sit quietly with your own heart. Becoming aware does not change everything overnight, but it opens a door. Once you see that you are hooked, you can decide whether to keep biting the bait. The second step is to practice letting certain right and wrong questions go unanswered. This is hard. We want clarity. We want resolution. But many arguments do not actually bring clarity. They just turn into loops. For example, you might be stuck in a long-term disagreement with a sibling about something that happened in your childhood. They remember it one way. You remember it another. Each of you is convinced you are right. You could spend years trying to convince them. Or you could accept that the two of you live in different internal movies. Instead of forcing the movies to merge, you could focus on how you treat each other now. Let us say they say, "You are the one who always caused trouble in the family." You feel the usual spark of anger. You can either reply, "No, you are rewriting history. Let me explain again what really happened," and prepare for another round of argument. Or you can say, "I remember things differently, but I do not want us to keep hurting each other over the past." Can we talk about what we need from each other in the present? You are not confirming their story. You are simply stepping out of the endless loop of who was right. This stepping out is not weakness. It is choosing peace over ego. A third step is to make a conscious practice out of speaking less when you are emotionally hot. Master Xing Yun often advised people to keep what he called a mouth precept, a kind of informal vow to be careful with speech. For ordinary people, this can mean very simple habits. When you are angry, postpone your reply. When you are hurt, write your first response in a private note, not in a message or post. When you are tempted to gossip, pause and ask, if the person I am talking about were here listening, would I still say this? Practicing like this does not mean you never express anger or pain. It means you give yourself space, so that when you do speak, you do so from a more grounded place. One of the most liberating things you can tell yourself is this: not every thought deserves to become a sentence. Sometimes we think, if I do not say it, I am betraying myself. But often, holding silence for a while allows the emotion beneath the thought to transform. Then, when we finally speak, our words have more power because they are not soaked in reactivity. There is a story of a business owner named Jordan who learned this the hard way. He had a habit of sending angry mails late at night whenever a client complained or a staff member made a mistake. His words were sharp and sarcastic. "You always do this. How many times have I told you? Are you even paying attention?" At first, he felt powerful. He thought he was being efficient and honest. But over time, he noticed something. Good employees were leaving. Clients responded with increasing coldness. A general atmosphere of fear froze his team. One day, a close friend showed him a teaching that said, "A single sentence can lose you a decade of friendship." He felt a shock. He thought about the staff who had quietly resigned. He thought about the deals that had collapsed after one harsh exchange. He decided to experiment. The next time he felt the urge to send an angry message, he opened a draft and wrote exactly what he wanted to say. Then he saved it and did not send it. He promised himself that he would only reread it the next morning after breakfast. Often, in the morning, his anger had cooled. Rereading the draft, he sometimes felt embarrassed. He could see how his words sounded not like firm leadership but like a child throwing a tantrum. He rewrote them in a calmer tone, still addressing the issue but without unnecessary insult. Within months, the atmosphere at work began to change. Problems still occurred. Criticism still had to be given, but his employees no longer feared every email. They began to trust that even when he was firm, he would not humiliate them. His destiny as a leader shifted the moment he stopped letting his mouth be the first response to every emotion. Another key step is to change how you listen to other people's words. When someone criticizes you, your first instinct is probably to defend or attack. The ego hears every critical sentence as a verdict on its worth. But if you can train yourself to hear criticism in 2 layers, you gain a new freedom. The first layer is content. Is there some truth in what they are saying? Maybe their tone is awful, but is there a small piece that you can use to improve your behavior? If yes, you can take that piece quietly and leave the rest. The second layer is their pain. Many hurtful sentences come from someone else's insecurity, stress, or fear. Seeing this does not excuse bad behavior, but it prevents you from turning every insult into a permanent tattoo on your heart. For example, if a colleague snaps, "You are so slow," maybe what they really mean is, "I am under pressure and I am afraid of failing." If a parent says, "Why are you always such a disappointment?" Maybe underneath is their unresolved regret about their own life and the pressure they feel from others. Again, this does not mean you must accept abuse, but it does mean you can stop swallowing every word as truth. Master Xing Yun often said, "Do not let your mind be a trash can for other people's words. You do not have to store every piece of verbal garbage that is thrown at you. You can learn to say inside yourself, that is their view, their mood, their karma. I will respond as wisely as I can, but I will not carry this into my heart." Finally, we need to talk about the deepest shift of all, moving from being controlled by right and wrong to being guided by wisdom and compassion. Right and wrong are often about labels. This person is good. That person is bad. This group is correct. That group is terrible. These labels give us a quick sense of certainty, but they freeze human beings into flat pictures. Wisdom looks beyond labels. It asks, what conditions created this behavior? What pain lies behind these words? What choices do I have in how I respond? Compassion holds everyone, including yourself, in a wider embrace. It does not deny harm. It does not excuse cruelty, but it sees that all of us are stumbling in different ways, led by our own unexamined thoughts and habits. Imagine two people watching the same argument. One says, "That person is awful." The other is a saint. The other says, "Both of them are suffering, trapped in their own stories." The first lives in a world of fixed enemies and allies. The second lives in a world where everyone is a mixture of causes and conditions, including themselves. From the first world, words are weapons and shields. From the second world, words become tools of healing and clarity. When you start living from wisdom and compassion, you no longer feel the need to win every debate. Sometimes you will stand your ground and speak with strength, especially when defending the vulnerable. Other times, you will smile and let small provocations pass, because you see they are not worth the energy. You will notice that your happiness is no longer so tightly tied to how others talk about you. Praise becomes pleasant but not addictive. Blame becomes painful but not fatal. This is what it means to not let your mouth drag your destiny, and not let other people's mouths drag it either. Before we close, I want to turn this back to you. Think of one situation recently where words hurt you deeply. Maybe it was a comment from a family member, a post online, a joke that went too far, or something you said in anger that you now regret. Ask yourself gently, what really caused my suffering there? Was it only the words themselves, or also the meaning I attached to them? The stories I built, the way I used them to judge myself and others? Is there one argument about right and wrong that you could simply retire today, not by pretending it never happened, but by deciding you will no longer feed it with your time and energy? Is there one area where you could practice speaking less, or speaking more gently, or listening with more curiosity instead of instant judgment? If you feel ready, you can share some of these reflections in the comments. Do not name or attack anyone. Just describe the pattern as you see it. You may be surprised at how many people recognize themselves in your story. Thank you for staying until the end of this long conversation. If something in it helped you see your relationship with words, right and wrong, praise and blame a little more clearly, I invite you to support the channel. You can subscribe so you do not miss future videos where we explore awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, and the very human ways we get stuck. You can like this video so that the platform shows it to more people who are currently letting their mouths and other people's mouths drag their destinies around. You can share it with a friend who is always exhausted by arguments and may need permission to step back. And if you feel called to walk more closely with this community, you can consider joining as a member. Your support helps me keep creating long, thoughtful content that sits beside you in the mess of life and gently reminds you that you have more choice than you think. May you learn to use your words as bridges instead of weapons, to let go of arguments that only shrink your heart, and to live a life where your destiny is guided not by the noisy demands of being right, but by the quiet strength of wisdom and compassion. Life gets noisy. Work, stress, expectations. Sometimes we lose touch with the quiet part of ourselves. Bracelet isn't just an accessory. It's a small reminder that you deserve peace. You deserve moments of stillness. You deserve to hold on to your inner balance. If one of these bracelets speaks to your heart, you'll find the purchase link in the description below. And even more auctions available on our channel's shop page. Pick home the one that feels right.